Maria DeLorenzis Reyes challenges conventional leadership models in her powerful big talk from the Speaker Salon Showcase. She exposes the flaws in traditional approaches and advocates for a courageous new leadership style that fosters true belonging and unlocks the potential of individuals and teams. Get ready for a big talk that will redefine your understanding of effective leadership.
Most people believe leadership is about position, title, power, and authority. That's a lie. I'm Maria. I help leaders go against the grain of corporate think to create cultures of belonging and high performance. While most of the consulting and coaching industry will follow the model of traditional business, I am committed to helping leaders and their teams feel more connected so they perform at a higher level than they ever thought possible. My journey to leadership started like everyone else's. I worked a job I was good at. I got promoted. I was excited to start creating an experience for my team and lead the way I wanted to. I'll never forget the day my boss called me into his office. I started to discover that leadership wasn't perfect. In fact, it was quite flawed. When he called me in, I was headed out on vacation. Instead of thanking me for a big project I had just completed, he asked me for the phone number of the resort where I'd be on vacation. Sure, I'll get right on that in between the margaritas. It was at that moment I realized he wasn't even aware that his request was inappropriate because he was following what was modeled for him. I also realized that he was promoted just like I was. And that's part of why leadership is so flawed. Because people don't get promoted because they're great leaders. They get promoted because they're good at their job or they start a company. Then they're plunged into leading a team without any training, knowledge, or practice of how to do that successfully. The bad modeling that they've witnessed is what they follow. And the behavior gets repeated. I knew I needed to lead differently. I continued suffering the consequences of being led in an anti-human, anti-growth, and non-supportive way. I realized how I was supposed to act was not who I wanted to be as a leader. So I took a different approach. I was standing outside that model, doing it differently, and going against the grain. But that wasn't rewarded or championed. And this happens in so many places, not just in work environments. If you think of what society says is normal as a box, normal can be defined as what is known, predictable, and the same. Therefore, anything outside of that box is labeled not normal. We're all impacted by this system, feeling like you need to stay inside that box or pretend to, and that can bring a tremendous amount of helplessness, anger, and frustration. You expend so much energy that could be channeled into actually doing great work, performing well, thriving, and being who you are. 52% of people that leave companies say it's because they felt like they didn't fit in. That's half the workforce walking out the door. If you have to fit in, there can be no belonging. If you take the cost of turnover, of constantly hiring, training, and filling those empty spots, it's costing way more not to change this. But CEOs and leaders think it will cost more from a human effort. They're not seeing the connection. I've seen missteps in companies I've worked in and with, companies being run thinking about cost, but not thinking about the cost of not changing their culture. Companies have the wrong focus. They tend to focus on the cost of doing business, looking at metrics, finding the ROI, doing things that look good on paper, expecting blind loyalty from their people, and then we have to cut this head count because we didn't make our numbers. The challenge is that it's so easy to get sucked in to the bad leadership and corporate think models that already exist, because that's what's being done. That's what's being perpetuated. And it's not just in business. It's in our society, it's in our culture, it's in our politics, it's in everything. In my experience working with companies, a business problem illustrates a much bigger issue that usually has to do with something deeper. Humans follow what they see, what's modeled. It's not their fault. If you try to go outside of that model, you're reprimanded, judged, labeled a troublemaker or disruptor. You don't get the rewards and you don't grow with the company. That's why people leave. Even a leader can experience this, feeling like you're trapped to play the game because if you don't, it means you can't stay there. That's how I felt. I was extremely disenchanted with a model that required me to act a certain way. I said, I have to change this. So I took a different approach with my team. I proved with my team that by creating a safe and supportive environment based on a shared team identity, resulted in a way that worked much better. Not just in culture, but actually impacted making money. And now I wanted to change that for everyone. So I left and I carried that approach into my own business and continue to empower other leaders to lead this way. The norm is so big and powerful that it's easy to get sucked in. We can't be our best selves without safety and support. We can't be creative and innovative in a box. You may hear now about creating safe spaces, but companies are trying to attain this with programs that they put in place. It's not enough. It has to be a true commitment to supporting everyone, no matter who they are, how they are, or what they are. The only way we can change this is by breaking down this system that requires people to fit in. I believe we all have a responsibility to create a place of belonging for everyone in all spaces. This simple principle, where people feel seen, heard, and valued, it's the basic levels of human needs. We all have the ability to act as leaders. In some way, it's like we're waiting for the ones who are supposed to be leading us, who have the title, power, and position to bring us where we want to go. We have to be okay with being an outlier, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it works way better. We have to have the courage to go against the grain. We have to be able to do this. Part of breaking out of the box is choosing to be a rebel leader and stepping away from these traditional models. When enough of us start operating this way, that's when real change can take effect. Let's stop perpetuating the leadership lie.
If you loved this big talk, I would love to hear from you in the comments what your takeaways were so I can celebrate and support you. And if you desire to take my big stage in New York City, just like these speakers, I invite you to apply to the Big Talk Academy, my 12-week signature speaker certification program. You can find all of the information that you need at thebigtalkacademy.com. And be sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell so that you are alerted to all of our upcoming videos featuring more big talks, conversations, inspiring to help you take the stages that you desire. Your voice matters, and I also appreciate you for being here. Big love. Mwah.